This is PJNET.TV, and this is my perspective and comments. In this video segment of My Perspective and Comments, we cover politics, society here and abroad, and the events of the day that are shaping our nation. PJNET.TV, My Perspective and Comment, coming to you with a worldview, one nation under God. Hello and welcome to My Perspective and Comments. And folks, we'll start out again like we have been through these last several months, going on a year. COVID-19, the China virus, the Wuhan virus, COVID-19, and what are the latest updates that's going on here in the nation and around the world. We now are seeing Johnson & Johnson is the new company that's now getting the vaccines out and in people's arms right now. And so there's another company that has come on board to inoculate against the COVID-19. We heard President Biden talk about that there's a possibility that we will be at a point in the middle to end of May that we would be at a saturation point or herd immunity, and that there might be some major changes that will be taking place regarding that milestone in getting to that point. But I would caution when you hear Joe Biden talk about projections, I would say, well, I'll believe it when I see it, especially when you look at the medical guy that's right behind him, Dr. Fauci, and the up and down proclamations out of his mouth regarding what we need to do. What we are seeing right now, though, that's been very, very good to see at many of these states right now. Iowa, a 3 weeks ago, basically eliminated masks and took the boot off of businesses and letting businesses open up. And Iowa has actually been leading the way. We see Florida, we saw Mississippi, and I was surprised to see and hear that there were other states out there that did not have a mandate throughout this, but that didn't mean that there were masks mandates inside that state. Like some counties, some cities, ordinances went in and kind of superseded what was going on in the states. But we're seeing more and more states right now that are opening their states up and saying, okay, we're done with the masks. And I think we're seeing that because they know that their residents and the American people have had it, and they want to get ahead. They want to get ahead of the curve so that they can still have some control. And I think what we really need to keep our eyes on and to take a look at what's going on when it comes to the states passing laws and bringing bills up that will, because it's one thing for the governor to say, okay, no more masks, you don't have to wear masks. But is the state of emergency still in place? Because what that means is a governor can say one day, okay, you don't have to wear masks, and 2 weeks later, well, things have changed. put the masks back on. So what we want to see is legislation in these states that codify that the residents and the American people aren't going to be put in this roller coaster and having the boot of government back on their necks. And we don't want to go through, as Americans, we don't want to go through this mess anymore. That the government can tyrannically go against our freedoms in the Constitution in their mandating that we have to put a face burqa on to go out in public. So wait and see, and I'm going to. I like what our brother Casper Stockham in Colorado has has put together in getting a website and make actually taking a step forward to have a presence and leadership when it comes to a lot of things that are going on in his state. And right now, I think probably next week or the week after, I'll be sharing another website and another initiative to get ordinary people involved and to actually have a say and focusing on the red states, the so-called Republican strongholds where we have majorities in the legislatures, that we have Republican governors, and to put things in place when there's legislation or when there's an initiative that needs to be pushed, and we need to help some of these Republican legislatures strengthen their backbone and firm that up, because we've been seeing too many times where the so-called the ones that are supposedly on our side seem to lose a spine, and they aren't able to bring initiatives that would help their people. And what we need now is if we have Republicans that have majorities in the state house and the governorship, and they have veto-proof majorities to be able to push initiatives when it comes to fighting against the tyranny that we've been seeing in this country, then those are the states that we have the Republicans have more leverage. We the people have more leverage in those states. So I'll be sharing probably next week or the week after on another initiative that would be able to help us have more of a say, especially those of you that might be residents in those states where there are Republican legislatures and Republican governors. But more to come on that in the next few weeks. But I really, when Casper really, a month or two ago, and when he was announcing that he would be bringing forth this America First and moving, moving towards training up those that would want to be put in places of leadership, and to give them the necessary tools to be able to go out, campaign, and really be able to step into places of leadership where they're needed. And that's exactly what we need. And what we need, so it's so important right now, because we have so many examples of rhinos, Republicans in name only. And it's about time that we really got the real deal. Because what we're seeing from these rhinos is once they get in, we might as well have voted the Democrat side, because they're voting the same way and the same rhetoric coming out of their mouth of why we have to do this or we have to do that, and it sounds just like what you'd see in a Democrat talking point. So that's important, what they're trying to do, and what Casper's trying to organize there in Colorado to train up some potential leaders in his state. But I'll be talking about same sort of thought and initiative that would be not just in one state, but to be able to take advantage in all the states. So more to come on that. I'd like to talk about in New York here, our Governor Cuomo. And as I mentioned, over the last couple weeks, I've talked about him, and he's again in the hot seat. And right now, I think the number's up to 3 women that have accused him of sexual harassment. And there's more and more calls for him to resign. And I think it's good to point out, it's not coming from the right, but it's his own party that's been speaking the loudest about Andy stepping down. But this past week, he's putting his foot down, and he's saying he's not going to resign. But I think the pressure is building. You heard Chuck Schumer was saying some things, that there had to be an investigation. Letitia James, the attorney general, is launched an investigation, and probably going to get a private detective or private counsel to be able to take a look at all the evidence. So there's more to come on that, and I think that over time, I'm not sure that Cuomo is going to be able to skate and wiggle out of this. And that's not even, and we're not even talking about the crime of killing our seniors in New York by putting COVID-infected patients in nursing homes. But I think it's all coming to play here. What he did there with the nursing homes, and they're just piling on here with with all the other accusations that have been out there that really haven't been addressed. But people are looking closely at everything that he's done, everything that that Andy Cuomo has said, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he might be able to skate for a month, but I think it won't be too much longer after that he may be stepping down. I'd like to talk a bit about what we've been seeing in the nation's capital. Barbed wire, fencing all over the place, and the FBI had a report this week talking about the insurrection, and their report was no weapons to be found. There were no weapons at the Capitol there. Now, again, insurrection, no weapons. So I'll just leave it at that. I mean, we've heard a lot about that someone had killed the officer there, and it turns out now that those reports were incorrect, and it looks like now that it might have been a heart attack. I want to point out, I'm not saying that what took place in the Capitol was wrong, and people should be charged that had broke in there. But what would been the drumbeat of the insurrectionists and it's the terrorists on the right. It looks like there are multiple groups, and what we're hearing reported is that they want to lay this all on, it's the far right. But I saw, and there have been some reports there that Antifa and Black Lives Matter were there. So I guess they're still going through investigations. But we know what the tactic is on the left. Anything that has to do with President Trump, it's Nazis or you name it. Anything that to bring accusations against the far right. But again, what we've seen all this past summer in 2020 was burning, looting, rioting, and killing people. And it was all coming from Antifa and Black Lives Matter. And they're not saying, have there been any major charges and people in thousands upon thousands of people locked up in jail? No, but they have the people that were out in the Capitol. They have them locked up and they've thrown away the key. So we're seeing justice is it's not equal. And again, I want to point out all summer long, last summer, what did we see? Buildings burning to the ground, cars being burned, and the constant attack on federal buildings, courthouses, continual. And not just this past summer, but not even a week ago, we saw Antifa out there in Portland burning and breaking the law and rioting. And it's still continuing. And wait a minute. And Joe Biden's president, and they're still rioting there, Antifa. So maybe the Biden administration, maybe Joe Biden will wake up and say, wait a minute, this is a terrorist group and we need to do something about it. But they have been the Democrats' strong arm, and they've done everything they could to coddle and to say, oh no, it's mostly peaceful, and heavy on mostly. So there's more to be seen. Antifa's not going away. Black Lives Matter is still going to use this intimidating tactics of intimidating people that might be dining or going into people's neighborhoods and causing mayhem and really terrorist tactics coming from those groups. Let's talk a bit about the stimulus. And, all I can say is full of pork and full of stuff that have nothing to do with COVID relief, but all to do with bailouts and Green New Deals, the Green New Deal. All that type of stuff that has nothing to do with getting people back, trying to help mitigate the damages that this COVID lockdown, or our nation being locked down for such a long time. And the president made some promises on how much individuals would be going to the people, and it sure looks like old Joe has reneged on that promise on how much was going to be given to the population. So again, promises made, promises not kept from the Biden administration. So it seems. So. Almost $2 trillion, almost 1.9, and the majority of it is going to, as I mentioned, anything but really stimulus relief. Planned Parenthood is getting monies for their killing business also. So. There is pushback, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. It passed out of the House, Now it's in the Senate, and we'll see if Joe Manchin and maybe some other Democrats step forward and say, we can't. I mean, we've got to pull some of this this wasteful spending and get it more targeted on real COVID relief rather than the goodies. And I almost forgot the states bailout. These Democrat states like New York and California bailing them out. And again, if you look at Andy Cuomo, you look at Gavin Newsom and all the spending that they excessive spending on everything but what needs to be targeted for their people and strengthening the nation. It's all this social programs, giveaways, and they wonder why their state, before COVID hit, their state was hurting for money, and this is just an excuse. Andy Cuomo for the last couple months has had his hand out saying we need money, and it looks like this part of this 1.9 trillion is going to go to bail out, send monies to the states to bail them out from because of their excesses. So we'll see what happens in the Senate. And if the Democrats keep pushing these social programs, and we're already hearing that they're trying to go after the Second Amendment, and that right now I'm optimistic that we have, and when I think of groups like the NRA and some of the gun organizations that have been a foundation and a solid rock, they're there. And I don't think that Joe is going to be, and these left-wing Democrats are going to be successful in this gun attack that they are surely going to mount an attack. But I think that we have a good foundation there, and I just wish that we had in other areas in the government that they were able to be organized and be vocal and have leadership that would withstand these far left-wing initiatives that's taking place. But I get frustrated because there doesn't seem to be anyone that can articulate conservative principles. And that brings me to the point of this past weekend, or last weekend, we had CPAC. A lot of powerful, a lot of good speakers. Ron DeSantis, I thought, was rock solid and was able to be the host state for CPAC, and really just touting. Florida has been leading the way and has been a shining light as far as protecting the vulnerable, but keeping his state open. So that has been, he has really been a shining light. And folks, if President Trump does not run, I could see a President DeSantis in the White House, and I think we would get a very powerful, solid, conservative an executive branch, and I think he would be right up there. If President Trump decides not to run, I think Ron DeSantis of Florida would be high on. It would be at least high on my list for someone that I would consider supporting in 4 years. We had let's see, a lot of good speakers coming up. Kristi Noem, great. I feel that a lot of we heard a lot of conservatism, a lot of bringing forth the differences between Republicans and Democrats, what we've been seeing as far as talk about the lockdowns. But folks, I think we have to kind of just step back and say, what? Well, okay, look at this. We have all the Republicans coming together, but what are they going to do? At the end of the day, when the convention is over and we go back to the states and they go back to Washington, what legislation is going to help you and I? Are we going to get conservative legislation, or are we at least, because we're not in the majority, the Republicans are not in the majority anymore, can they at least be some sort of a roadblock? You know, have some pushback, be able to articulate what the Democrats and where the Democrats want to take us, and that we're not going to go along and do whatever it takes, whatever we can do to put the brakes on their agenda. And you know, one thing about the Democrats, when President Trump was president, man, talk about roadblocks and talk about effective blocking. The Democrats could do that. But when it comes to the Republicans, they don't seem to have that same energy or that same initiative to be able to push back. Now, yes, they're in the majority, but there are things that they can do. They're able to, you know, get before the cameras and talk about this bill and talk about how it's going to, this stimulus bill is an example, how it's going to hurt Americans, and that the stimulus bill is not going for where the Democrats said it was going to. You know, that it was actual stimulus relief. You know, it should be more like the porculus bill for the Democrats and the bailout bill for the Democrats rather than a COVID relief bill. So I think, again, the leadership that we have right now, they need a spine. You know, our senators and our congressmen, many. And it's kind of sad to think that, you know, you start thinking about in the Senate, maybe a handful, at the most 8 or 9, what you could say are true conservative voices, and maybe the same amount in the House that we can look to and say, yeah, they're doing why we sent them there, to be our representative and to push back on these far left initiatives that are hurting our nation. What I am seeing, and I was encouraged this week to see that there are some bills out there right now in some states that are pushing back on this transgender. There's legislation in some states right now that have said that, and President Trump brought that up when he was at CPAC. And President Trump also, let me back up here. Let me talk about President Trump, and we'll talk about transgender right after that and tie these together. But President Trump's speech talked about transgender and how unfair it was, and it was wrong that these men were competing against women and winning all these awards, and the unfairness. Title IX is a joke that was supposed to benefit and help women get college scholarships. Unable to do that now, and President Trump pointed out the insanity of what's taking place there. Also at CPAC, President Trump also, he kind of alluded that he might be around in 2024 to run again. I would just say that he will be, at that time frame, he'll be close to hitting 80. And, you know, things can change. If you look at Joe Biden 4 years ago, he's totally different than he is now. But, you know, President Trump's a different person, so we don't know where he's going to be at. But if he has the desire in 2024, I believe that that the party is going to back President Trump. But again, he had a lot to say about this transgender and what it was doing to women, not even that are competing in college, but just women having to share and putting it into law that they have to allow men into their bathrooms, into their locker rooms. And President Trump was talking about this, the evil of that, and that it was wrong. And now these states, a week after I've seen 2 states, and there are more that are coming, making state laws that are saying no, that they're taking that away, that men can no longer compete against women in sports. And I think they're also talking about the accessibility that men can get to bathrooms and locker rooms, and that the states are putting a stop to that. So again, and I touch back what or want to remind us of what I had mentioned earlier, that it's these red states that we need to support. We need to, where we can, give them a spine, the legislatures and some of these governors, to stand for us and to represent us, and to do what we want them to do when we send them there. We send these legislatures and we send these governors, we get them elected, and we want them to represent us. So when they do the right things, which some of these states are doing right now, then we need to, in these other states, these other red states, we can start mobilizing and putting the pressure on getting, to duplicate what they did in these other states, as far as pushing back and putting a stop to this transgender movement and the legislation that's being put together. Because right now, the Democrats, what they're trying to do is to codify things in law where you're going to break the law if you go against many of these the insanity that's taking place surrounding transgender. So more to come on that. I really believe that we're going to start seeing more and more states drafting legislation to put a stop to this lunacy, and to keep our women and our girls and women safe from the potential harm that's there if you open up their bathrooms and facilities to boys and men. So we've got there are things that are happening around when it's coming to surrounding what the Biden administration is trying to push, and some of the pushback that is available to us in some of the red states. We also saw some airstrikes, under President Trump, kept us out of conflict, kept us out of war, and I'm a little nervous with Joe Biden, and could get us right back into skirmish, right back into conflict again. And do we really need that? Especially where we are right now. President Trump had strengthened our military and was very targeted and dealt with bad actors. And what I fear under Biden is he's going to get us entangled in a mess. We are also seeing him talk about, trying to negotiate with Iran. Now maybe, this conflict or this because this airstrike was I guess a result of what Iran's proxies were doing. and I'll be getting more information, and I'm going to dig in for a little bit more information on the intelligence. Why Joe Biden's been in office for 6 weeks, and did he get intelligence from the military that this needed to be done? So more to come. I mean, this strike almost seemingly was out of the blue when it came to the airstrike, but we'll keep our eyes and get a little bit more information on the potential entanglement that we could get into another conflict there in Syria and in the Middle East. So we want to definitely keep our nation in prayer. I guess if you've watched any of the TV or any of the news, we see the cancel culture is going wild. And to think of it, Dr. Seuss is under attack. Amazon burning books, digital books going by the wayside. Get rid of them. Of course, the digital books you can't write a match and burn, but it's the same result of what's taking place. And and again, the question that everybody should be screaming is, who made you the arbiter of saying that book's bad and this book can stay? Because I'll guarantee you, Amazon won't be burning Bobby has two mothers, or Jane has two fathers books that are written. You won't see those getting burned, but you'll see an arbiter of, oh well, that book's got to go, that book's got to go, I don't like that book. So and these are books that people have enjoyed. As a matter of fact, they've been saying, well, look, Dr. Seuss, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, you had Michelle Obama reading out of a Dr. Seuss book. So again, we see cancel culture coming in and wanting to wipe out. Now we see Amazon burning books. We've seen Antifa, Black Lives Matter pulling down Washington and Lincoln statues. And this cancel culture, we have to deal with. I mean, there needs to be an awakening, and we need to push back and say this can't stand. And we need to, again, bring law and order back. We've seen Seattle, Portland, Baltimore, Chicago, and you might as well be in another war zone, because that's what it's beginning to look like in many of those areas and cities. So we have a lot, again, that we'll be bringing to you to keep an eye on this cancel culture and what we're seeing in society right now. What I would say, I'd leave with the state of where we are right now. We are seeing many Americans saying enough is enough. Business owners are standing up and saying we're opening our businesses. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised that the governments in some of these states are actually saying, look, if we don't do anything quick, we are going to have an insurrection on our hands if we don't open up our businesses and and instead of destroying businesses. So that could be a part of it, that these states are starting to see their people saying, we're just not going to listen to you anymore. We're going to open up our businesses. We're going to live our lives, and we're not listening to you anymore. It's time that the government, the states, start listening to the people and get their boot off the neck. And I think that that's what we're seeing, that there is a rounding of the curve. And I think that we are going to see more and more states opening up their businesses, and the masks are going. And I think that we're going to see more and more of that in the next coming weeks. I think we're going to see more states saying the mask mandates have ended. So more to keep our eyes on, more things that are taking place. COVID isn't going away. I know we're gonna see some pushback. We're gonna see these hardcore far left states like California still locking their people down. Although we are seeing some inkling that Newsom is going to loosen the reins, and if he doesn't, well, regardless, if he does or if he doesn't, they have the numbers to, I think the 1.5, 1.8 million. They're at the number. They're above the number that they need to impeach and give him the boot. So that could be a little incentive for Gavin Newsom there in California to get his foot off his population there in California. So more to see here in the coming weeks. I think we are seeing some positive events that are taking place surrounding COVID and the vaccines and the states starting to open up and to start to make our way towards getting back to normalcy again. Now I would say probably there's still gonna be some months to go, but we're starting to ease our way towards getting rid of these major restrictions. So more to see here in the coming weeks, and we'll bring it to you next week.